The courtroom fell into an electric silence the moment Janelle spoke. Her voice didn't tremble. It struck the air like thunder. "Your Honor, he stole from every single one of us." The words hit harder than any gavel. Reporters gasped. Cameras snapped into position, and Cody Brown's complexion drained to a dull, stunned gray as every lens in the room swiveled toward him. For decades, the wives who once stood behind him now stood against him united. Furious and ready to reveal the betrayal he thought he had buried forever. Today wasn't about marriage. It wasn't about faith. It wasn't about family. Today was about money, lies, and a secret account that could destroy everything. The courthouse had never been this crowded, not for politicians, not for celebrities, and certainly not for family drama. But this wasn't just drama. This was history. The name Brown echoed down the marble halls with the force of a warning bell. For the first time in more than 30 years, the sister wives had dragged Cody Brown into a courtroom. Janelle entered, first jaw clenched, eyes steady, walking like a woman who had carried years of betrayal on her shoulders and finally chose to set it down. Christine followed, clutching a thin folder as if it were armor. Public battles weren't her strength, but surviving heartbreak was. Meri moved behind them, quiet and emotionally torn. She didn't want to hurt Cody, but she was done protecting him. And then came Robyn, tear-stained, trembling, tissues balled in her hand. Whether those tears were guilt or fear, no one could tell. Cody entered last, mug, irritated, acting as if he were attending another family meeting instead of a legal reckoning. He smirked at the cameras. To him, this was all an overreaction. But the judge wanted facts, not Cody's excuses. When she called the court to order, a hush smothered the room. The wives sat together, a sight no one had seen in years. Cody sat alone. "Mrs. Janelle Brown," the judge said, "present your formal complaint." Janelle stood. She didn't look at the judge at first. She looked at Cody, at the man she trusted with her life, with her family, with their money. "Your Honor," she said, "he stole from every single one of us." The room erupted. Reporters hammered keyboards. Even the stenographer froze for half a second. Cody lunged forward. "Stole." "Janelle, what are you, Mr. Brown?" the judge snapped. "You will remain silent." Janelle lifted a folder. "For years, we ran joint businesses and joint accounts. We contributed equally. We trusted Cody to manage the finances because he insisted he knew best. But money began disappearing. Transfers happened without consent. Whenever we questioned him, he called us irrational." She inhaled slowly, then delivered the blow. "I now have proof that Cody transferred $120,000 into a private account under Robyn Brown's name." Chaos erupted. Robyn sobbed harder. Christine looked away. Meri exhaled as though a decade-long weight had finally lifted. Cody's face flushed bright red. "That's a lie." "That money was enough," the judge warned. She asked one question. "Mr. Brown, did you inform the other wives about these transfers?" Cody's jaw set. "No." The gasp that followed felt like the air being sucked out of the room. Robyn turned to him, whispering shakily, "You told me it was for emergencies. You never said it was family money." "Robyn," he hissed, "not now." But it mattered now. The judge reviewed the documents, each transaction neatly outlined. Each signature clearly Cody's. Her expression hardened. "This warrants a full hearing. This is no longer a family dispute. This is potential financial misconduct." Cody's lawyer attempted to object, but the judge silenced him instantly. The wives stood together when the court adjourned, symbolic, powerful, unified. Cody stood alone, surrounded by flashing cameras and questions he could no longer dodge. The next morning, evidence day, a different kind of silence filled the courtroom, heavy, suffocating, expectant. Cody arrived tense and visibly nervous. "No bravado today," smirks. He kept glancing at the door as if someone might save him. No one would. The wives entered moments later, Janelle with a binder thick enough to break the table. Christine with printed emails she never wanted to read again. Meri pale but steady. And Robyn looking shattered. The judge signaled for the proceedings to begin. Janelle's attorney stood. Your Honor, we present Exhibit A. Documents showing $120,000 transferred from the Brown family's joint account to a private account under Mrs. Robyn Brown. The screen behind him lit up with a spreadsheet clean, damning, undeniable. Rows of transactions glowed red. Each withdrawal, he said, was authorized by Cody W. Brown. All 26 transfers, all leading to the same private account. All executed late at night or in the early morning hours. The courtroom watched, frozen, as the truth unfolded on the screen. Evidence doesn't lie. And today, every lie Cody ever told was about to crumble. The screen behind the attorney glowed with red highlighted withdrawals like wounds exposed under a surgical light. No one in the courtroom moved. Not the audience, not the reporters, not even the judge. The truth hung in the air, thick, undeniable, suffocating. Cody shifted in his seat, swallowing hard, his composure cracking at the edges. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This wasn't angry wives exaggerating. This was evidence. The attorney clicked to the next slide. The numbers enlarged. Dates lined up. Timestamps flashed 1:14 a.m., 2:32 a.m., 4:07 a.m. Your Honor, the attorney continued. You will notice that nearly all the transactions occurred when the rest of the family was asleep. And more importantly, he tapped the screen. Each transaction originated from the same IP address. The home Cody Brown shared with Robyn Brown. Robyn flinched as if struck. Christine's hand flew to her mouth. Meri bowed her head, and Cody stared at the floor as though the truth had finally cornered him. The judge leaned forward. Her voice dropped to a controlled, icy calm. Mr. Brown, you authorized these transfers from your home late at night. Is this correct? Cody hesitated, a fatal mistake. Your Honor, I manage my finances at night. It's when I think clearly. These withdrawals were part of a plan. A family plan. A safety net, then? Why? The judge cut in. Did no one else in your family know about it? Silence. Not even the cameras clicked. Even they were waiting. Cody's jaw worked, searching for words that wouldn't come. Because the truth wasn't a plan. It was a secret. Robyn wiped her cheeks, voice trembling. You told me it was leftover funds from a business account. You said it wasn't theirs. Cody, tell her. Tell the judge. But Cody didn't look at her. He didn't look at anyone. The judge nodded grimly toward the attorney. Continue. The next slide displayed email subject lines like, missing funds. Unexplained charges need clarification. Urgent. Money not adding up. Emails written by Janelle. By Christine. By even Meri, all unanswered. All ignored. Christine closed her eyes as her own message appeared on the screen. One, written at 2 a.m., during the hardest months of her marriage. Cody, please just tell us where the money is going. We keep trusting you. Please don't make fools of us. Cody winced. He remembered that night. He ignored her then too. Your Honor, the attorney said, these emails show a pattern. Not confusion. Not simple oversight. A deliberate refusal to disclose information. The judge exhaled slowly. Mr. Brown, you will respond to this. And then something happened no one expected. Cody stood, not with confidence, not with swagger, but with the shaky, brittle pride of a man finally cornered. Your Honor, he began, voice cracking ever so slightly. I did what I had to do. I was trying to protect my family. They don't understand the pressure I'm under. I'm the head of this household. I make the decisions. A ripple of disbelief spread through the room. Head of the household. In this courtroom. Janelle's eyes sharpened. Christine sat up straighter. Meri stared at him as though seeing a stranger. The judge's face hardened. Mr. Brown leadership is not a license for secrecy, nor is it justification for financial misconduct. Cody's lawyer tugged at his sleeve, silently begging him to sit. But he didn't. This family fell apart because they never listened to me. Cody snapped, frustration erupting. They turned on me. They twisted everything. I didn't steal, I protected what was mine. His voice echoed sharply across the courtroom. And that's when Janelle rose. Her chair scraped across the floor. Everyone went silent. "Your Honor," she said, voice steady but full of controlled fire. "That money wasn't his. It was ours. Money we earned together. Money we trusted him with. We're not here because of misunderstandings. We're here because he thought he'd never get caught." The judge nodded gravely. "Mr. Brown, sit down." Cody did. This time, slowly, the attorney wasn't finished. He clicked one last slide. A single page appeared on the screen. A bank notification. A large withdrawal. Timestamp: 1 week after Christine left him. Location: Robyn's home. Amount: $27,300. Marked cash withdrawal. The courtroom gasped again, this time louder. Robyn stared at the screen in horror. "You told me that was for the Coyote Pass taxes." She cried. "Cody, what did you do with that money?" Cody didn't answer. Because now his silence said everything. The judge lifted her gavel slightly. "This court will recess. When we return, we will determine whether these actions constitute fraud and whether criminal charges are required. We will determine whether these actions constitute fraud and whether criminal charges are required." Cody's body sagged. Robyn covered her face. Christine hugged her folder to her chest. Meri whispered something under her breath. Maybe a prayer, maybe a goodbye. And Janelle walked out first, head high, unshakable. She had waited years for this moment. Tomorrow would be the day everything changed. The courtroom had grown tense. Every breath measured, every eye fixed on Cody Brown. The attorney continued, his voice calm but precise. "Your Honor, these transactions also coincided with family expenses being denied. Mrs. Janelle Brown requested funds for her daughter's medical bills, Dane. Mrs. Christine Brown was told there wasn't enough to pay her property taxes. And Mrs. Meri Brown was informed that the business account needed recovery before she could make essential repairs to her home." The camera crews zoomed in on Cody's face. He didn't blink. He barely breathed, knowing exactly what was coming next. "Your Honor, we call Christine Brown to the stand." Christine hesitated as she rose. Every step, every inhale, every careful movement was measured. The courtroom watching in silence. She seated herself, hands trembling in her lap, eyes meeting the judge's. "Mrs. Brown," the attorney began gently, "please describe the incident concerning the email you discovered." Christine nodded, swallowing hard. "It was last year. I don't remember the exact date, but I remember the moment clearly. I walked into Cody's office to drop off paperwork. He wasn't there. His laptop was open, and I saw something. An email from a financial advisor I didn't know existed." The judge leaned forward. "What did the email say?" Christine's throat tightened. It said everything is set. Transfers are going through. Friday deadline confirmed." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Cody ran his hands through his hair, whispering under his breath, "Oh my God. I told myself it had to be related to a business investment." Christine continued, her voice trembling. "I didn't want to believe he could keep secrets like that. But after the money kept disappearing, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I stayed quiet for months. I regret that now." The judge nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You may step down." Christine returned to her seat, shoulders shaking not from fear, but from relief. She had finally spoken the truth. Next, Meri Brown rose. Every step was heavy, carrying decades of silence and patience. She looked like a woman who had borne the brunt of exclusion, yet refused to break. "Mrs. Brown," the attorney said, "did Mr. Brown ever discuss major financial decisions with you in recent years?" Meri shook her head. "No, not since he legally married Robyn. Things changed after that." "How so?" "He stopped sharing statements. Stopped updating us on business income. He said we didn't need to worry. He had everything under control. I wanted to trust him. I didn't want to question him. But the truth was different." A long pause. She swallowed hard. "One day, 3 years ago, I saw him transferring money without telling anyone. When I asked, he snapped, said it wasn't my concern. I believed him. I kept quiet, and I'm sorry for that." The courtroom fell into a soft, painful silence. Meri's voice broke the weight of years of suppression. "No further questions," the attorney said gently. Meri stepped down, and Christine reached for her hand in a quiet gesture of solidarity. For the first time in years, the wives stood together not as rivals, not as fractured partners, but as survivors united by shared betrayal. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Robyn Brown. Robyn's knees shook as she rose, hesitant, like she was walking through smoke. She gripped the edges of the witness stand as if it could anchor her to reality. "Mrs. Brown," the prosecutor said softly, "yesterday you testified that you did not know the transferred funds came from the joint family account. Would you like to clarify today?" Robyn nodded, tears already forming. She glanced first at the other wives, then at Cody. "I knew money was being moved, but I didn't know where it came from. Cody told me it was his personal emergency fund, that it was his own money. He told me it was separate from the family." Cody tensed, jaw tightening under the gaze of the judge. "I trusted him," Robyn continued, voice quivering. "I believed him. I never asked because I didn't think I needed to. I didn't think he would put any of us in this position." Her voice broke. "I never wanted to replace anyone. I never wanted to be the favorite. I never wanted things to be unfair. But everything felt like it was falling apart. I didn't know how to stop it." She sobbed quietly, shoulders curling inward. "I didn't know he was hiding money from them. And I didn't know he was hiding things from me too." The courtroom froze. That sentence, "he was hiding things from me," to hit harder than anything said before. The wives stared, not in anger, but in dawning realization. Robyn wasn't orchestrating a scheme. She wasn't the villain. She was just another person Cody had manipulated. The judge exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the testimony sink in. "Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You may step down." Robyn nodded, tears streaming as she returned to her seat. Cody remained at the defense table, hands shaking, entire narrative crumbling piece by piece. The truth had spoken, and now there was no escaping it. The attorney stepped forward, holding a small USB drive. The room went still, every eye on Cody, every camera snapping. "Your Honor," the attorney announced, "this is Exhibit CIA's voicemail left on Mrs. Janelle Brown's phone. It was an accidental recording, but it contains Mr. Brown's own voice giving instructions regarding the transfers." Cody's face drained of color. His hands twitched, gripping the edge of the table. "Play the recording," the judge ordered. The courtroom froze. The speakers crackled to life, and Cody's voice burst out clear, confident, unapologetic. "Just transfer it to Robyn's account. They won't notice. They never do." The room erupted. Gasps. Sharp intake of breath, reporters scrambling to type. Christine let out a sound, half cry, half rage, tears spilling freely. Meri covered her mouth, trembling. Robyn's head dropped, disbelief written all over her face. And Janelle. Janelle simply stared, emotionless. She had heard this before, but hearing it now. In public, under the gaze of the court, it was like ripping open a wound she thought had healed. Cody jumped up. "That's taken out of context. That's not what I meant. You don't understand, Mr. Brown." The judge's gavel slammed down. "One more outburst and you will be removed from this courtroom." Cody froze, chest heaving, eyes burning with frustration, humiliation, and disbelief. The truth had spoken louder than any defense he could muster. The judge exhaled, her expression grim. She scribbled notes slowly, deliberately. Then she addressed the room. "This court will proceed with a full investigation. Every document, every transfer, every communication, and every recording will be examined. There is now enough evidence to justify a deeper inquiry. Mr. Brown, you are advised to prepare for comprehensive scrutiny." The gavel slammed. Court adjourned. The wives stood together once more. No smiles, no celebratory gestures. Just relief. The relief that the truth had finally emerged from the shadows. Cody remained at the table motionless, watching controls slip like sand through his fingers. The courthouse buzzed outside with whispered conversations. Cameras flashing, reporters comparing notes, but in the middle of it all was silence. The kind of silence that grows when years of denial finally collapse under the weight of truth. The wives gathered at a long cafeteria table. An uneasy reunion, not born of friendship, not of warmth, but necessity. They weren't sisters. They weren't united allies. They were witnesses, survivors, women forced to stand together by circumstances they hadn't chosen. 30 minutes later, the courtroom doors reopened. Court officers guided everyone inside for the afternoon session. The reporters followed, eager, relentless. The tension was electric. The evidence wasn't just damning, it was shattering. And shattering evidence demands emotional reckoning. Cody returned to the room, shoulders stiff, eyes burning with a simmering rage. He didn't look at the wives. Not at Robyn. He stared forward, trying to steel himself. The enemy was no longer the people across the table. The enemy was the truth. When the judge reconvened, she didn't waste a second. Court will resume with further witness testimony regarding Mr. Brown's financial conduct, she said. Christine's name was called first. She rose slowly, inhaling deeply, as if preparing to walk back into the past she had fought to forget. She sat at the witness stand, eyes meeting Cody's for the first time in years. And in that gaze, all the heartbreak, the manipulation, and the betrayal rose to the surface. The prosecutors stepped forward. Mrs. Brown, earlier you mentioned seeing an email, but today we'd like you to describe your personal experience with the financial changes in the household. How did these changes affect you emotionally, financially, and within your family structure? Christine exhaled shakily. At first, I thought it was me. I blamed myself. Whenever I asked about money, Cody said I was dramatic, emotional. He said I didn't understand finances. I believed him. I blamed myself even when things didn't make sense. But over time, I noticed the children weren't getting what they needed. I noticed Janelle struggling to cover simple expenses. I noticed Meri being sidelined. And Cody kept telling us everything was fine. Then I saw the email. That was when I realized he wasn't protecting us. He wasn't leading us. He was hiding things from us, everything important. He wasn't leading us. He was hiding things from us, everything important. And the worst part? The part that hurts more than the money or the secrets, is that I trusted him. I defended him. I built a life with him. And he tore it apart with his choices. Cody flinched, silent, blinking rapidly, the weight of her words sinking into him like stones. Christine stepped down, shaking but freed of a burden she had carried for years. Next, Meri rose, each step heavy, weighted with memories of exclusion, dismissal, and frustration. When she sat, her eyes briefly met Cody's. He looked away finally, cracking the mask of superiority he had worn for decades. Mrs. Brown, the prosecutor, began. You've known Mr. Brown the longest. Can you describe how his behavior regarding family finances affected your role in the household? Meri inhaled shakily. When Cody and I began our life together, everything was shared. Hopes, dreams, finances, responsibilities. I believed in our family, in him. But over the years, especially after Robyn joined, he stopped communicating. He stopped including me. He stopped valuing my voice. One day, I saw him transferring money without telling us. I didn't confront him immediately. I hoped I was mistaken, but when I asked, he shut me down. He said it wasn't my concern. I stayed quiet out of fear. Fear of losing whatever connection I still had with him, and that is my biggest regret. You didn't just hide money from us, Cody. You hid yourself from us. Cody's jaw twitched not with anger, but with something deeper. Shame, and yet he still refused to speak. Meri stepped down, and Christine reached out to squeeze her hand. A gesture so small, yet so powerful. For the first time in decades, the wives stood together not as rivals, not as fractured partners, but as survivors united by truth. Then came Robyn Brown. Knees trembling, she rose, fragile, walking into a storm she didn't create, but was trapped in. At the stand, she gripped the sides of the chair as if it could hold her reality together. Mrs. Brown, the prosecutor, said gently, Yesterday you testified that you did not know the transferred funds came from the joint family account. Would you like to clarify today? Robyn nodded, tears forming. I knew money was being moved, but I didn't know where it came from. Cody told me it was his personal emergency fund. He told me it was his own money, separate from the family. I trusted him. I believed him. I never asked because I didn't think I needed to. I didn't think he would put any of us in this position. Her voice cracked. I never wanted to replace anyone. I never wanted to be the favorite. I never wanted things to be unfair. But everything felt like it was falling apart, and I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know he was hiding money from them. And I didn't know he was hiding things from me too. The courtroom froze. That sentence, he was hiding things from me, too, hit harder than anything before. For the first time, everyone realized Robyn wasn't orchestrating a takeover. She was just another victim of Cody's manipulation. The judge exhaled, allowing the weight of Robyn's testimony to settle. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You may step down. Cody sat silent. His control, his narrative, his world shattered piece by piece. The truth had spoken, and now there was no escaping it. There was no escaping it. The judge nodded gently. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You may step down. Robyn returned to her seat, sobbing quietly into her hands. The room seemed to shrink around her grief, every eye tracing her pain. The prosecutor stepped forward, voice steady but sharp. Your Honor, the testimonies have established not only financial misconduct, but emotional manipulation across multiple household members. The wives Cody suddenly sprang up, slamming both hands on the defense table. That's enough, he bellowed. The courtroom gasped. You think I'm the villain here? You think I'm the only one who made mistakes? I carried this family for decades. I worked while they sat at home. The judge banged her gavel sharply. Mr. Brown? But Cody continued, voice cracking with rage. They all turned against me. They let the world paint me as the bad guy. They don't know the pressure I was under, the responsibilities, the expectations. They never cared what I went through. Christine rose, voice slicing through the chaos like a blade. We cared for years, Cody. We cared, but you stopped caring about us. Meri followed, steady and cutting. You pushed us away. Every decision you made cut us out more. We didn't turn on you. You turned on us first. Even Robyn, whispering through tears, pleaded, please stop, Cody. Just stop. You're all ganging up on me. He shouted, voice shaking. Then Janelle.com, yet devastating, stood last. No, Cody, we're telling the truth for the first time in years. And you're finally hearing it. The entire courtroom trembled under the emotional shockwave. The judge slammed her gavel. Order! Order! After several attempts, the room finally settled. Cody sank into his seat, eyes unfocused, breaths unsteady, not from anger, but from the crushing weight of solitude. For the first time, he felt truly, overwhelmingly alone. The judge prepared to pause for a brief recess. She looked at the wives, their unity, their courage, their raw honesty, and then at Cody, unraveling before the world. This court acknowledges that significant emotional harm has been inflicted upon the plaintiffs, she said. We will proceed with the introduction of additional evidence after recess. The gavel slammed. Everything stopped. Christine hugged Janelle and Meri, placing a gentle hand on Robyn's shoulder. The wives stood together, a picture of strength, resilience, and truth. Cody, however, remained seated. A man finally realizing the foundation he built was not destroyed by them, but by his own actions. The courthouse felt heavier, darker, as the afternoon session began. Truth pressed against the walls, demanding to be seen. Reporters hunched forward, cameras ready, spectators whispering nervously. But the wives sat still, bracing themselves. They could feel it coming, and deep inside, so could Cody. Hunched at the defense table, elbows on his knees, he stared at the floor like it held an escape. His lawyer whispered strategies he wasn't hearing. For the first time, Cody wasn't fighting. He was waiting. The bailiff called the room to order. The judge took her seat and opened her mouth to speak. Then the doors swung open. A court clerk hurried forward, clutching a thick, sealed envelope marked with a red stamp. Subpoena compliance, financial records. Is this the documentation requested earlier this week? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor. The clerk replied breathlessly. The courtroom went silent. The judge broke the seal. The crisp tear of the envelope sounded like thunder. Inside were printed emails, attachments, and logs. She read the top pages, then the next. Her expression hardened. Bring the projector, she ordered sharply. The assistant wheeled the screen, connecting a laptop. The screen flickered to life, and the truth stepped into the light. The prosecutor stepped forward. Your Honor, this exhibit contains email correspondence between Mr. Cody Brown and a financial advisor he did not disclose to his family. We request permission to present the evidence. Permission granted, the judge said. The room held its breath. The first email appeared. Cody W. Brown to Mark D. Subject, transfers urgent. Move all remaining funds by Friday. The wives are asking questions. I'll blame accounting. Christine gasped, hand flying to her chest. Janelle's eyes widened, but she stayed composed. Meri froze. Robyn covered her mouth in horror. Cody whispered, shaking his head. No, no, no. The judge slammed the gavel, restoring order. The next email appeared. Subject, refer confirmation. Keep the account under Robyn's name. If anything happens, she'll look like the owner, not me. Robyn erupted in tears. No, Cody. Why? Why would you make me part of this? Cody reached toward her instinctively. Robyn, listen. I can explain. Explain what? She screamed. Explain how you used me as a shield. How you hid this from me. How you dragged me into something illegal. It wasn't like that, Cody stammered. But it was exactly like that. The judge slammed the gavel again. Mrs. Brown, please. Robyn sobbed into her hands. Christine, despite years of bitterness, looked at her with sympathy. For once, everyone realized Robyn wasn't the enemy. She was collateral damage. The prosecutor clicked. Rows of numbers filled the screen. Secret account ledgers. Every transfer, every date, every amount. All funds went to the same accountor. Brown Secondary Trust, but under trustee Cody W. Brown. Silence fell, suffocating. Robyn's tears paused mid-breath. Meri whispered, "Oh my God." Janelle exhaled, years of tension leaving her body. Cody's deception was now undeniable. He hadn't made mistakes. He orchestrated a secret financial empire behind their backs. The judge pressed her lips together. This, she said, is intentional concealment. Premeditated, deliberate. Cody dropped his forehead into his hands. His empire, the one he controlled for decades, was collapsing. The wives stood together at last, not in marriage, not in sisterhood, but in truth. Cody looked up, voice strained. You're twisting this. I was trying to protect our future. Christine snapped, voice sharp. By stealing from us? Cody shouted. I had no choice. Meri cut in. You always had a choice. You just never chose us. Cody's breathing became unstable. He stood abruptly, chair crashing. You think you know everything? The pressure I was under? I built this family. I held it together, and all you did was tear me down. Janelle fired back, calm but fierce. You didn't build this family. We did, Christine added, and you broke it. Robyn whispered, and you used me. Cody turned toward her, desperate. Robyn, I did it for us. No, she said, small but piercing. You did it for control. You thought we'd never question you? The judge yelled over the chaos. Mr. Brown, sit down or I will have you removed. Cody froze, chest heaving, jaw trembling. He slowly sat. The confident patriarch was gone. The head of the family had been exposed utterly. The judge closed the file deliberately. This court has seen overwhelming evidence of financial deception and unauthorized transfers. Mr. Brown, you transferred $120,000 from the shared account into a private trust without consent. You misrepresented these transfers, created off-ledger accounts, and withheld information from the family. This demonstrates clear financial misconduct. She tapped her pen twice. Murmurs rippled through the room. Cameras flashed. Christine exhaled tears of relief. Janelle's jaw unclenched. Meri lowered her head, sobbing quietly. Robyn's tears fell in waves. Cody sat frozen. He had lost control, credibility, and power. The judge continued. The account under Mrs. Robyn Brown's name is to be frozen. All diverted funds will be returned. A forensic audit of the Brown family businesses will occur over 90 days. Any discrepancies may lead to further action. Her gaze softened slightly toward the wives. You were misled, silenced, manipulated. Your trust was violated. You acted in good faith. This court recognizes your suffering. Then, cold again, she turned to Cody. You broke not just the law, but your family. Secrecy was your weapon. Manipulation, your tool. That is not leadership, it's deception. Cody lowered his head. He said nothing. He had no words. The judge added, financial compensation is awarded to each plaintiff, $50,000. Each for emotional distress. Mr. Brown must attend financial counseling and ethics courses. This court finds in favor of the plaintiffs. The gavel slammed. An earthquake of relief and finality. The wives sat in stunned quiet, absorbing the justice they had waited decades for. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The wives didn't answer. They walked to the waiting SUV. For women, survivors of the same storm, now free to heal. Cody remained behind, watching through the glass as the life he built walked away. He didn't follow. He didn't speak. The truth had spoken louder than he ever could. His lies destroyed him. And the women found justice not through revenge, but through truth. Destroyed him. And the women found justice not through revenge, but through truth. Outside the courthouse, the sun felt impossibly bright, almost surreal against the storm of emotions the wives carried. Cameras clicked relentlessly, but none of them looked up. They moved as one, quietly, like survivors walking through the aftermath of a battle. Christine's hand rested on Robyn's back. You didn't know? She whispered softly. Robyn nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Mascara streaked. But her shoulders straighter. Now, like the weight of guilt she never deserved had finally lifted. Meri, silent for most of the trial, finally let herself exhale. It's over, she said, almost to herself. And for the first time in years, she felt it freedom. Janelle walked a step ahead, calm, controlled, yet her eyes burned with quiet vindication. For women, once fractured, now bound together not by marriage, not by loyalty, but by truth. Inside, Cody remained seated. The courtroom emptied, but he did not move. He watched as officers dismantled the evidence displays. As reporters gathered their gear, as lawyers whispered in final consultations, his mind raced thoughts colliding in chaotic waves. How had it all come crashing down? He had spent decades controlling every corner, every dollar, every story. And yet, here he was, powerless, exposed. Hours later, the wives regrouped in a private room in the courthouse. There was no laughter. No celebrating. Just quiet, heavy breathing. Christine leaned against the wall, rubbing her temples. We survived, she said finally. We're still standing. Meri nodded, her hands trembling slightly. Robyn's sobs had subsided into quiet sniffles, but her eyes remained red, haunted. Janelle finally spoke, her voice low but firm. We have the truth now. That's ours. And no one can take that away. Meanwhile, Cody exited into the late afternoon sunlight. The world outside the courthouse moved as if nothing had happened. But to him, everything had changed. Each step felt heavier than the last. The glare of camera flashes stung, but he couldn't meet any eyes. Not the reporters, not the spectators, not the wives who had walked past him just hours ago. The control, the power, the voice he had wielded so confidently gone. For the first time in decades, he understood what it meant to be alone, truly alone. And with that understanding came a crushing, inescapable truth. It was never the world against him. It was always the truth. And the truth, finally, had caught up. Back at the SUV, the wives exchanged quiet glances. They didn't speak of revenge, of anger, or even of victory. They simply acknowledged the reality. They were free. Free to reclaim their lives, their finances, their voices. Christine started the engine, and the vehicle moved slowly through the courthouse exit. Sunlight caught Robyn's tear-streaked face. She smiled faintly, a small glimmer of hope. Meri's grip on the seat tightened an anchor for her own resilience. Janelle exhaled deeply, letting the tension leave her body. Christine, always the quiet anchor, looked straight ahead. "We go forward," she said softly. And forward they would. Behind them, Cody lingered, a lone figure in the fading shadows of the courthouse steps. The life he built, the control he commanded, the family he thought he led slipping like sand through his fingers. Every manipulation, every secret, every lie had led to this moment. And now he had nothing left but the echo of his own choices. The sun dipped lower, painting the streets gold, reflecting off glass windows, shimmering on the asphalt. And as the wives drove away together, united not by marriage, but by survival, one truth became undeniable. The power had shifted. Not through rage, not through confrontation, not through drama, but through honesty, through courage, through standing up to decades of lies. And Cody, he remained, finally facing the emptiness he had built for himself. The man who once controlled everything had learned too late. That truth is the only force no one can dominate. The story didn't end with screams or chaos. It ended with reality. And reality had a winner. The wives, the truth, and the freedom they reclaimed together. Summary: in an explosive courtroom showdown, Cody Brown's decades of financial deception and emotional manipulation are exposed. One by one, his wives, Christine, Meri, Janelle, and Robyn finally speak the truth, revealing the hidden transfers, secret accounts, and lies that have haunted their family for years. Robyn, once seen as the villain, is revealed as another victim of Cody's manipulation. Emails, voicemails, and financial records confirm the shocking reality. Cody orchestrated a secret financial empire, hiding money from his family while blaming them for questioning him. The judge rules decisively, funds are returned, accounts frozen, and the wives receive compensation for emotional distress. Cody is left powerless, facing the full consequences of his actions. For the first time, the wives walk away united, not as a family, not as lovers, but as survivors of truth. Cody, once the patriarch, now understands the ultimate cost of deceit: losing control, credibility, and the family he thought he ruled. Justice is served, and the women reclaim their freedom, standing together in strength and clarity.